Welcome to Help, I'm a Parent, Christian Parenting in the Real World. We're so happy that you've invited us to enter into your home, your church, or wherever you may be gathered today. We're delighted you've joined us on this program as we discuss your God-given role of parenting.
We are your hosts, Drs. Claudio and Pamela Consuegra, and together we serve as the Directors of Family Ministries for the North American Division of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We believe that one of the most important roles you will ever play is that of being a parent.
In the midst of a secular society, it's easy to leave God out of the training of our children. The purpose of this series is to not only put God back into the equation, but to place Him at the very center.
Parenting stretches us and shapes us like no other experience on this earth. It is a sacred responsibility, and there's no higher calling. It is a calling that has its shares of joy as well as challenges, and it is a calling that demands a big investment on your part if it is to yield results. And yet the returns on that investment will last throughout eternity.
Today we're going to discuss school, study skills, and homework. We can still remember our girls' first day of school. Yes, there were tears that were shed, not just by them. That nest was suddenly empty for all those hours every day. It was hard as we spent those first school days wondering if they were eating their lunch. Did they put their coat on for recess? Were the other children being nice to them?
Well, it seemed that overnight our toddler girls had become school age, and now they were standing before us all dressed up in a school uniform with a lunchbox in one hand and a backpack strapped on those little shoulders.
Were we ready? No. Was she ready? I sure hope so. These school years set the stage for future interaction with peers, the development of strong study skills, personal responsibility for homework, just to mention a few.
In sending your child to school, you are really placing them in the care of another. During the school year, your child actually spends more hours of awake time in the classroom than they do in the home. You want them to be academically successful, but you also are concerned about character development.
So how can you, as a Christian parent, make sure that all those hours spent in a classroom are in agreement with what you want your child to learn and the character you want them to develop? Do those hours reinforce the values that you are trying to instill at home?
Our special guest today is Dr. Elissa Kido, Professor of Education at La Sierra University, the Director of the Center for Research on Adventist Education K-12, and Project Director of Cognitive Genesis. She was awarded the Journey of Excellence Award for her research and contributions to Adventist education.
Dr. Kido is also the recipient of the Weniger Award for Excellence. She's married to Daniel Kido, a neuroradiologist at Loma Linda University Medical Center in California. Welcome, Dr. Kido. We're delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm very excited about this series that you're producing, that the NAD Family Ministries is producing, and I am so pleased that I can be part of that.
Thank you. Before we begin our conversation today, we do want to turn our attention and go into the home of a single mother as she talks with us about her challenges of supporting school, study skills, and homework with her daughter.
Parenting is hard enough as it is, and then just when you think it can't get any worse, then they have a school project. They give you a month or 6 weeks, and you actually think that that's enough time, but it's not. Because the night before, I'm still running to the store. As a matter of fact, I have trifold boards just in random places all over the house because we have these projects to do.
Look, Alabama. Okay.
Sometimes it feels like, life is already so busy, and there's already so much to do, and I still have to feed them, bathe them, get them into bed by a certain time so that we're not lagging behind the following morning trying to get them out of bed. And I'm happy that they're learning, but one of the challenges with that is that they want to get it done right. They want to get it done well. And I want that for them, but sometimes I'm just so tired. I'm just so tired. And I'm like, okay, can we just, put this here, put that there, put this here, we just call it a day, But at the same time, I want them to excel. And so I'm trying to be patient. And so I feel, sometimes I feel as though I don't get it right, Sometimes I feel like being impatient makes me a bad mom, or that I should be more patient or more loving or more, long-suffering when I just want them to go to bed. Parenting is hard work. It's long hours and it's lonely hours sometimes, but it's rewarding because I get to see them grow up and I get to see them developing into good Christian girls who love the Lord.
Joy's going through those challenges that probably every parent has to go through with their children's homework. Tell us a little bit about what the research shows about the importance of homework and study skills.
Well, to be honest with you, the research is enormous, but it's all over the board.
Okay.
So I would say in one word, it's uncertain. And it's uncertain in this degree that you have to look at various areas. So if you look at the academic area,
okay,
and then you look at the non-academic area,
okay,
and then you look at elementary school, and then you look at junior high and secondary schools,
okay,
the research shows different things.
Okay.
But if in general I were to speak to the 8 to 12-year-old age, I would say that homework is not as valuable for academic achievement.
Oh.
The older you get, the more important it becomes and the greater correlation you see between homework and academic achievement.
Of course, we don't want parents to, or even kids to get the idea that, well, then they don't have to worry about homework. Why is it important that they do homework now in the early stages in relationship to what's going to happen later?
Well, there is some debate about how much homework we should assign elementary school kids. And so there are guidelines that the National Education Association have put out. Those are okay and they're fine. And I would want our schools and our teachers to take a look at those guidelines. But let's look more at the non-academic benefits of homework.
Okay, like what?
So like, for instance, with Joy, her children are learning time management.
That's one of those skills that's
and
important.
time management is a study skill. So like when she's saying she's scrambling the night before, they shouldn't be scrambling the night before. That's reality, in all of our lives, right?
Right.
But in theory, and not in theory, just in practice, the non-academic benefits in the younger ages and earlier grades are more beneficial. So time management, putting in effort, and knowing that their effort is going to count.
So when they get to the upper grades, they're not waiting until the night before to do the homework that they have had for 3 weeks.
Not.
So as a parent, if I want to help my child with the time management in regards to homework, I can teach them perhaps, let's not just look at what's due tomorrow, but let's look down the road. What is coming next week, or what is coming in a couple weeks from now?
Absolutely right. And, with not electronics, but IT, with technology now, many teachers have their assignments posted, and then they'll tell you how your child did on homework. So you can probably look ahead a little bit. That's a very good suggestion, Pam.
Now, you did a study, a 4-year study, it wasn't just an overnight thing, called Cognitive Genesis. We want to hear a little bit about that, and especially what you learned as a result.
Thank you, Claudio, for giving me this opportunity. First of all, if I were to connect it with the homework issue, we looked at many factors that contribute to higher achievement. And one of the things that we saw was that diligence in homework and cooperation with parents and teachers Those three factors were correlated with higher achievement.
Say those three again.
Okay, diligence with homework, cooperation with parents and with teachers. If I can come back just to homework a little bit longer, I think the strongest connection for homework is the parent and the teacher relationship. And it's not just for homework, but once you establish that relationship, that partnership with the home and the school, it has benefits all over in other kinds of areas and realms.
So tell us specifically, very practical ways, how can I make that connection as a parent?
Okay, so over 4 years, all of the schools in the NAD, so it was a population study, okay, we found out that students in Adventist schools scored above the national average in all subjects, in all grades, no matter what size school they were attending. And then here's the most surprising thing. No matter what kind of ability they had, they scored above their predicted achievement. So if the ability is here, as teachers, we want the achievement to be here. Kids in our schools, achievement was here, above their ability. Think how parents should mull that over and say, why is that happening? What's happening in our schools that's allowing that to happen?
And I even want to think, why isn't it happening in the public school where my kids are? Well, maybe there's a good time to think, should my kids be there instead of...
Absolutely.
And so I want you to talk with us a little bit specifically about this. Let's expound on this, because what we didn't show in the video, we couldn't capture it all, but when I was spending some time with Joy, she made the comment to me that really has stuck with me. She said, you know, Pam, I'm a single mom. It is a lot easier for me to send my child to a public school. The bus picks them up right here at my door. The bus delivers them to my door in the afternoon. The school will even feed my girls breakfast and lunch free. And yet she made the decision that wasn't easy. So I want you to talk to those parents that would say that. It's easier, it's more convenient to send them. Why does it really matter? Show us what you found out.
Well, first of all, I think that parents, when they use those kinds of rationales, and they're legitimate ones, you know, they're thinking short term, here. I think we would want to think long term and there. And I'm talking there meaning eternity. So I'm asking parents, wouldn't you love it when your children are adults that they're sitting in church with you with their kids? But even more than that, don't you want to meet your kids and your grandkids at the Tree of Life? Have a big reunion there? That's long term. So when you choose a school, and it's research has shown that when a parent chooses a school, more beneficial things happen. They're committed to that school, okay? And the fact of the matter is, I think that we're all concerned about character.
Yes.
Now, there's a whole new realm of research on character. In fact, I just returned in the fall from a conference in Boston, and listen to the title of this conference, The Science of Character. Now, how can we look at character and call it science now? We can, we can, because we can look in the brain while the person is still alive. They're not dead, and we're not looking at, you know, they're alive through MRI scans, and we can see what is happening when they're thinking, when they're making decisions, when they're doing all of this thing. So there's a whole realm of research now that happens every year at this Brain and Learning Conference, and this is science of character.
In fact, when you think about the number of hours that the children spent in the classroom with the teachers, you realize what great influence those teachers have on their development, the development of the character.
Tremendous.
Which means, then again, do you want your kids with Christian teachers who are helping you in that development, or with those who just simply can't or don't care to develop that character properly?
And so in our schools, we have a curriculum where the idea of creation and God as creator threads through all the curriculum. Now think about public schools. Well, you might have a teacher there who believes in creation and who believes God is the creator, but she can't or he can't talk about it.
Right.
In Adventist schools, that's not an issue, right?
Absolutely.
So kids can answer these questions. Where do I come from? Why am I here? And where am I going? And if I could just throw this other fact in public schools, the issue...
I want to interrupt you.
Okay.
We want to hear that factor, and we want to give you the time, but we need to take a break.
Okay,
and so
very good.
We want you to come back after the break because we want to hear from Dr. Kido what she has to tell us about study skills and that development of character. So come back after a moment. You can probably already tell that we will not be able to cover every area, every concern, or every question you may have in the short time that we have together. Parenting will continue to produce new challenges and new questions every day. As our children grow and change, so do the parenting challenges we face.
And therefore, our goal is to continue this conversation with up-to-date resources and practical parenting tips that you can apply in your day-to-day parenting journey. We will do this online via our website, www.helpimaparent.org. And there you may keep up to date on all of our newly released parenting resources, supplemental products, and even find additional materials to download free of charge.
You're also invited to submit any questions that were not answered for you, subscribe to an electronic newsletter, read a blog for parents, and much more. Again, the accompanying website is helpimaparent.org.
And in addition to that website, we also have a Facebook page where we post daily words of encouragement and resources. So look us up on Facebook, Help, I'm a Parent. And remember, share that Facebook post with the friends in your social network.
It is our desire that this resource will assist you in your God-given role as a parent by using principles that are firmly grounded in the Word of God. Now let's get back to our conversation with today's guests. Welcome back to our program today. Before the break, we were talking with Dr. Kido about character development and how important the school that you choose for your kids is in that character development. So, Dr. Kido, can you continue to tell us about that?
Well, I would like to say that in Adventist schools, character development is happening every day in every classroom.
That's right.
That's a major goal. And while the focus for that character development is not just to be a good citizen here on earth and then one in heaven, I'd like you to know that recent research in the past decade shows that it's character that contributes to success in your professional or business life.
Sure.
Character. So let me give you an example. Self-control, diligence, integrity. Listen to this one, kindness and gratitude. Can you imagine in the business world, it's kindness and gratitude? And we are promoting that, maybe promoting isn't the right word, developing that every day in our schools.
Yeah, so it's something that goes with them for their entire life.
Exactly.
And as Adventists, also through eternity.
But it's only been recently that there's been such a close connection between success in your secular life or your professional life that this is happening.
So it's not just a theory or some theological concept. We're talking about practical things in life.
Exactly.
You know, we have been really talking about this subject, and time is limited, but we do want to also remind our listeners that we are going to put some additional resources that you have. In fact, you have a whole website dedicated to this research, and we're going to put that link on our website. But we also want to ask you, you've been talking specifically about choosing Adventist education for our children. What about other Christian schools? I mean, does Adventist education really matter? What if I want to choose another Christian school as long as it has a Christian worldview? What about that?
Well, I have very specific ideas about that. There are many good schools out there. And if you're looking just for academics, I would say go for it. But as parents, I can't see that we would look just at academics.
Sure.
We're looking at the holistic development of a child. And many schools will say, well, we take a holistic approach. We do the mental, the physical, the emotional, and social.
Right.
Some schools will even say we do the spiritual. And I would say the Adventist holistic view says we infuse the spiritual in the physical, the mental, the emotional,
there's a difference
and the
right
social.
there.
We're infusing that.
Right.
But moreover, I think the Adventists have a particular worldview that serves students well. I want to hypothesize why I think our students do so well academically on standardized tests.
Yes.
And that's because we present them with a framework that allows them to put in new information, to synthesize that information, and then even to create information from that. And you're going to ask me, what is that framework?
Yes.
And I'm going to say Adventists have a particular biblical framework that's called the Great Controversy. And when you introduce students to this big picture,
Yes.
and they understand it, they can then plug in all kinds of information from whatever their subjects they're learning and try to make sense of it. And I think that's the reason our kids do so well.
Yes. They are interrelated around that one theme.
Yes.
Yes.
And it gives them a sense of understanding what the world is all about, what the world, not just today, but yesterday and the future. And when you have that kind of a global worldview, I think that enhances your thinking and it enhances your education, obviously.
Now, we've been talking again in large terms, the Adventist education or education in general. But let's come back to the home. Let's talk about those study skills again that a parent needs to help their child with. We already talked about time management. That is so crucial and something that they need to take throughout their career. What other skills can we teach our kids so that they will be useful in the future?
I think kids need to realize that effort counts a lot.
Effort, okay.
Effort.
Working hard.
Working hard, staying on task, making right decisions. To the degree that parents can do that, that helps them not just short term, but long term.
Now, what that means is that we can't do the homework for them.
Absolutely not.
You know, it's tempting to want to do that science project so they will win the award, but then it actually becomes our project and not theirs.
Absolutely not. We also cannot be like a drill master, a sergeant in the Marines.
Right.
Because what you want students and children to learn as they're doing homework and as they're practicing study skills, you want them to have positive attitudes about learning.
That's right.
And about school. And if the parents are not communicating positive attitudes and behaviors, the student, their children will not get those.
And I think that's really important for our parents to hear. It's not just about completing the assignment,
Yes.
getting it done, but that in the process of doing that, as I'm sitting beside my child at home or as I'm working in the kitchen and they're doing homework at the table, that they are learning time management. They are learning to do their very best, you know, to perseverance, stick at it, you know, don't give up.
All those are character issues also.
That's right. But it's so easy to think we just have to complete this task.
You know, you used the word process, and I think that's the whole key to homework and study skills. It's more the process, less the product. So it's in the process of doing your homework or practicing a study skill. Okay, that's the important thing, not so much the product. And I think most of us, as just regular human beings, tend to focus more on product. So if I were to advise parents, I'd say, parents, don't be so concerned about the product. Think about what skills your child is learning, is practicing in the process. What attitudes is she or he gaining because of your positive attitude toward this task?
So we could be teaching them to do something now only to get a grade, or something now that they can use not only in school, but throughout their lives, because again, we're helping them to develop that character.
Right. And also, as an elementary school student, the traits, the skills they're learning now are going to be more beneficial to them when they're in high school. So independence is one. you don't want the parent hovering constantly over the child doing the homework, right? Because eventually you want them to be independent. So when they're in the 11th grade and they're doing their math homework, they can be independent learners.
Or actually when the kids learn things that we never studied, how can you help them?
Like the
to
new
do their
math.
homework? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You're absolutely right.
So that is important.
Yes.
If you could say a few words to the parents, we are the parents of children right now, small children ages 8 to 12. What would you tell us that would help us to decide on a good Adventist education or good study skills? What would be your best advice in just a few words?
Just boil it all down into a couple sentences.
My first advice would be stay in close contact with the teacher.
Okay.
And if you create a strong, positive relationship with the teacher, I guarantee you things will go well for your student, for your child.
Yes.
And so that would be my overall thing. And then the other thing would be, as I've said before, concentrate on process. What are the skills my child is learning, not what kind of grade my child is going to get. Do you see that? Don't focus on grade. Yes. And then if we do time management so that a child learns what is good time management, and if you don't manage your time, there are going to be consequences.
That's very practical. We thank you so much, Dr. Kido, for being here with us, for sharing your research with us as well.
I'm happy to do it. Thank you so much for inviting me.
And we also want to thank you for joining us as we explored some of the challenges of school, study skills, and homework. Now it's time for you to open your parenting manual that accompanies this resource, read the material over, and discuss any thoughts or questions that come to mind with your group members. To help you get started, we have included some discussion questions and group activities.
We also want to remind you to visit our website, helpimaparent.org, and there you will find many additional resources and materials.
Keep in mind that as much as you love your children, God loves them even more. He has appointed you as their stewards, their caretakers during their lives on earth. More important, He has entrusted you with the task of preparing them for their forever home in heaven with Him.
God never said that parenting would be easy, but He did say that He would never leave us or forsake us. The Creator who knit our children together in the womb and has numbered the very hairs on their heads also holds the blueprint for their lives. Claim His promise and invite Him to co-parent with you.
Join us next time on Help, I'm a Parent, Christian Parenting in the Real World, when we will discuss the challenges surrounding friends, peer pressure, and bullying. It is our prayer that your child's academic experience will be a positive one that will reinforce the development of character traits that you as a parent want to instill in them, and one that will develop their God-given gifts for a life of service here on earth. May your home be filled with blessings today.